Hey, how y'all doing out there, man? This is JP, the creator, with Ben the Awesome Newsome and Jeanette, the Agents of Fashion. Today, on episode 16 of YeahManThePodcast, we have Hali Washington. And the title of our episode is YeahManThePodcast, episode 16, Self-Love, A Woman's Story. So, basically how I met Miss Washington is I was on Facebook and I seen a post, and it was basically about a post of a young woman, changing who she was. And would you like to explain that post?
Yeah. So the post came from, I think the challenge was like 5 different looks. I don't know, that was what was on Facebook. And so I was looking through my pictures at the time, and I began to realize, like, the girl, I mean, my look has stayed the same because I've been same size in high school, but the person in the picture was a different person. So there were different stages that I presented, and I tried to present it in, I think it was 10 photos that I used. I tried to present it in a way that showed, like, this is who I was and this is who I am now. Because where I come from, they always say, like, oh, I don't look like what I've been through, but I really don't. So people look at me and they have this perception of me of, because I am a worship leader and I do go to church and I do all of this stuff, they don't understand that, like, this was not my life. This has not been my entire adult lifehood. So, I mean, I don't even have to go back all the way from being a child, but, like, simply since I've become an adult, let's say, like, 18 years old. So at 15 years old, my brother drowned. My 7-year-old brother drowned. My parents got divorced. And I never lived, I was very spoiled, just overindulged. So when my parents got divorced, me and my mom ended up having to move in with my aunt. We stayed in a one-bedroom, literally just me and her in my aunt's house in the bedroom and shared that. And that was just, in itself, was something different. And because of the lack of a father figure, it caused me to be attracted to a certain type of man. So when I was younger, I was molested, and things did occur that my family were aware of, but they never addressed. They kind of just, they not overlooked it, but my mom was young. My mom was 19 when she had me, so she didn't really know any better. So she just felt like, are you okay? But it affected me as I got older. So the men that I was attracted to were very aggressive, very dominant personalities. So in turn, what that turned into is me moving out at 17 years old, and I moved into a house with 6 guys. And at the time, these were all my friends from high school, and it's always been like, Haley is, everybody's sister, Haley's everybody's homegirl, because I've always been like one of the boys. I mean, I look girly, but femininity is not really my strong point, either is emotions or sensitivity. So I ended up moving in with these 6 guys. We had a house. We sold drugs, but whatever you could think of, we sold it out this house. And we lived over by UCSA. So because our predominant customers were college students, the money never stopped. It eventually got to a point where, because there were 6 of them and 1 of me, whenever they would go somewhere, they would always bring back a group of girls. And I started realizing that women were far more easily manipulated than men. So I started manipulating women more than men. And what I mean by that is I started going to the strip club, and they would bring strippers and stuff home, and instead, when they would sleep with them, I would befriend them. And it would turn into like, oh, hey, be cool. Because I learned really early on, like, you only got to compliment a woman, tell her she's pretty, tell her she smells good. Most strippers have low self-esteem anyway. So somebody that makes them feel good, they don't break bread. So I started getting strippers to sell pills, to sell drugs for me, whatever they were making, I was getting a percentage off of it because they felt like, oh, they were cool. And all I had to let them do was sleep with my homeboy, or let them get knocked down by him, and then they did whatever. And then I became accustomed to a certain lifestyle. I became accustomed to fast money and not really having to earn it, but I knew how to get it. And I didn't get it like other women where I was dependent on a man to get it. It was, I was getting out the mud with the rest of these niggas. They out here. I don't have to sit in the trap house to get it. I can get 6 strippers to go and sell on my work in one night while y'all was sitting over here trying to work off the luck. Like, that was how I operated. In high school, I ended up meeting my son's father, who was, or is, he's in prison right now for murder. But he's Mexican mafia, so again, drug dealers. But I'm not talking about like small nickel or dimes. I'm talking about Mexican mafia where the city of San Antonio, southeast side, his uncles, his dad, all of that is where San Antonio is getting their crack. They're getting their dope. They're getting their pounds from. So $250,000, $50,000, $60,000 sitting around in a bag around the house was not unusual. However, with those type of men came a lot of problems. So dealing with my baby daddy, I also, the bed kicked in the door multiple times. He went to jail. His brother, his dad, all of that. But because they were Mexican, their tradition in their family was like, you just do your time. You know what I'm saying? You don't say nothing. You just do your time. So, I was privy to a lot of things that most women would have been scared of, but I was attracted to. I idealized the thought of being mob life. Like, I idealized the thought of, like, my man's out here getting money, not like these little trap boys on the street, but they get money, so I don't have to do nothing. Nobody's going to touch me. Nobody's going to say anything. I can go wherever I want, and all I need to let them know is who I've been with. Along with that, again, came the physical violence, the manipulation, all of these things, and I got to a place of not being able to function unless I was inebriated with sunlight. And I was high, I was drunk. I never really did coke. I got high on coke a couple times, but my predominant drug was weed. And because it was just around all the time, I never left. So I literally could smoke all day and all night and never have an issue, never have to get up for work, never have to do nothing. But everything was paid for. I lived in a big house. I lived in a nice neighborhood, all of these things. And it didn't affect me. As I got older, I kind of drew away from so much the dope boys because I realized that Texas costs a lot of money. Attorneys, lawyer fees, restitution, all of these things, they cost a lot of money. Assault charges, I went to jail, I don't even know how many times I've been to jail. Off the top of my head, I could at least say 4 or 5 times that I've been to jail. For assault, battery, run somebody over, hit somebody in the face with bricks, cut people up with box cutters. I've been in the house with girls getting raped because their boyfriend owes money, or their brother or their cousin owes money. I've been in the house I've been in the car where drive-bys are happening and people are getting shot. I've been in the house when people are coming home because they didn't try to kill somebody and they need to get rid of the weapons. And it was not abnormal to me. It was life. Like, that was normal to me. Even though I grew up in the church, I knew God, but at that point, I didn't know Him for myself. I knew what my grandma talked about. I knew what my mom talked about. I knew what I was seeing growing up. But I also was molested in church, so I still didn't have a full concept of God for myself. What I thought is, like, just go to church on Christmas, Easter, on certain days to make Granny happy, but I ain't really worried about that because I can get it without Him. Jump to like about 21, 22, I meet another young man, and at this point, I hadn't had my son yet. I knew my son's father. We had broken up, gotten with another young man, and I dealt with him for about 3 or 4 years, and I called him the biggest hole in San Antonio, right? I won't say his name because I don't want to, but I, again, was accustomed to things that other women would never tolerate. So I knew that he was sleeping with other women. I knew that he was entertaining other women. And instead of being offended by it, I was just like, well, that's my man. So, what I'm saying? He can sleep with you, you can suck his dick, you can do whatever. He's still going to come home and he's paying all his bills. I'm laying up in this big old house, and he's taking you there, And it even got to the point where I would just pull up at the club about 145, 150, and I was putting on whoever he was talking to in the parking lot. No questions asked. I didn't care. So I was just running up. His friends, security even got to know me to the point like, oh, she's here. She's here. But that my mind was like, I don't care. I'll never lose my man behind another female, and he'll never stop me from attacking you. But it never hit me that it was a sign of disrespect if he would even entertain them. Because in my mind, I'm like, he takes care of me. He pays my bills. He takes care of his family. He does this. He does that. Sorry, did I want to ask a question?
No, go on, we're listening. Go on, we're listening.
Okay, so then about 23, I had my son, and my son's father, the way my son was conceived was non-consensual. So I had ended up dealing with him again at a point in my life, and he was on house arrest at this point because of the people that he had shot. He ended up shooting 3 people.
Wow.
He was on house arrest, so he raped me. Got pregnant, and when I got pregnant, it was like a light bulb went off, because at that moment I was mad at God. Even though I had rejected him for so long, I was mad at God, like, why would you let this happen to me? I feel like this baby is the repercussions for my actions. I feel like now you're making me be a mother because of the things that I've done and I've allowed to happen to other people, and I didn't care and never lost any sleep from. And because of the way I felt about my pregnancy, I mean, obviously it was very tumultuous. So when my child was born, I had a really hard time connecting with him. I had a really hard time even wanting to hold my baby, even wanting to nurture him, to mother him. I looked at him as a burden more than a blessing. I looked at him like, I didn't even really want you here. Like, I didn't ask for you to be here. And the ironic part is, at the time I had my son, I had already had multiple abortions. So I wasn't above abortions. I wasn't above, not having a baby. In my mind, it was like I wasn't ready to be a mother. So if I could pay $300-$400 to not have a baby, then I'd rather do that than have a baby. But for some reason, with my son, I just wasn't able to do it. My baby daddy at that point, I was about 7 months pregnant, and he had said basically, like, if I wasn't going to be with him, that he didn't want anything to do with my son. And he threatened me all the time. I'll end your life, I'll do this, I'll do that, blah, blah, blah. I ended up having my baby, and I struggled with being a mom. My family is very loving and very nurturing, and I still struggle with that to this day, of just being gentle and girly. Like, my physical appearance reads very Barbie, very girly, very, feminine, but my actual natural demeanor is very aggressive. It's very standoffish. It's very reserved. I laugh and giggle, but what do they call it? It's unconscious, but that is my demeanor. It's very like, I'm not interested. I'm not trying to be anybody's friend. I'm just here to get what I gotta get. So I had my son. When I was pregnant with my son, I ended up finding out that I had hepatitis C. So I was 7 or 8 months pregnant when I found that out. And what hepatitis is basically it's a disease that causes your internal organs to shut down. So your liver causes cirrhosis of liver, all these other things. And at the time, the only treatment for it was chemo. So immediately after giving birth to my son, I went into chemotherapy treatment, and I still refused to acknowledge God. I still refused to even surrender, because I felt like you are punishing me for the things that I've done, so I don't want to do with you. I don't want to have nothing to say to you. I'm not praying to you. I'm not asking you for nothing. I've figured it out this far, and I'll keep figuring it out. I think my son was about 9 or 10 months old, and I ended up getting into an altercation with my baby daddy's new girlfriend, and I went to jail. And when I got out of jail, I had to turn myself in and all of that. When I got out of jail, I just was like, I have to do better for my son. So it was at that point that I realized, like, I have to change my life. And it was difficult because of what I was accustomed to. So I didn't have many girlfriends. I didn't have many homegirls. I had a whole bunch of homeboys, and I had a whole bunch of the men that I was dealing with friends, because I was predominantly around men. Every man that I've ever dated or ever dealt with is very, I've never dated a black man, so every man that I've ever dealt with has been a man. And they have this term that they call themselves machismo, like very macho. So they don't want you to work, they don't want you to be around anybody, they don't want you to do anything. So my life was always around men. After my baby was about 10 months old and I got out of jail or whatever, I realized it was time for me to change my habits. And so I began to really focus on trying to be a mom because I had no idea how to do it. Had no idea what it really consisted of emotionally, and I could do the financial part, but the emotion, like I didn't like him crying. I took him off the bottle when he was 5 months old because I felt like he just needed to stop. I was potty training him before he was even 1 because I just wanted him to grow up quickly so that I didn't have so much work to do. And then it made me realize that I have to slow down. I have to allow him to be a child. I have to allow him the opportunity to develop because even though I don't want to, it's not fair to him. You've already put him in a situation where his dad's not around. His dad's in prison for the next 38 years of his life. His dad has nothing to do with him, so you owe him a childhood. My son was about 4 when my best friend at the time, he was a musical director at the church, and he would always tell me, like, oh, I really want you to come because I sing. So he was like, I really want you to come. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And my cousin, she was starting with, she was living Bible studies at her house. So she and I were like meet on Saturdays. We would read the Bible stuff, but it wasn't really anything serious. So I ended up going to the church one Sunday. And they asked me to sing, and then they asked me to join their praise team. And at this point, I was still like, I'm still having sex, I'm still drinking, I'm still doing what I want to do. So I was like, I don't really want to fool with nobody in church. I really just, if I'm gonna come, sing a little song, do a little dance, and I'm gonna go about my business. But God had different plans, right? So I started out that way at church, and I progressively, against my will, began to get closer to the people in that environment. I began to see that there was more for me in a different lifestyle. So I, got my records expunged and disclosed and had those things removed off of my records. It was preventing me from getting the jobs that I wanted. It was preventing me from providing at the level that I wanted to because of the legal situations that I had on my record. So I started fixing my legal situation. I started fixing my mind. I started forcing myself to read and forcing myself to be around people that were positive, even though it annoyed me how happy everyone seemed. And I always was very big on, I can't receive from these people because they've never been through anything. They don't know what this is like, Everybody says, I don't look like what I've been through, but someone who's been through something to have that is really a story, You might, and I had to check myself because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you might have said you got raped, but your mom and your dad took care of you, you did all of this, so that molestation was covered up because you had other people to take care of you in the process. I would always judge people off of their stories, and I never wanted to share mine for fear of the backlash, or like how would people look at me based off of what they think they see, because they see she's dressed in fancy, she's got Louis Vuitton this, she lives in a nice place, she's got a nice car, her son is this, or da-da-da-da-da. So to hear the word, just something as simple as like, yeah, my baby daddy was a drug dealer and he's a murderer, I was scared to share that with people. As I began to get a better understanding of God for myself, because like I said before, I had an understanding based off of what my mom told me, what my grandma showed me, what I learned in Sunday school, but I still didn't have a real understanding for myself. As I began to get a better understanding, I then started building a relationship with a pastor. That pastor at the church that I was going to at the time ended up taking advantage of my innocence. Now, I was an adult at this point, but I was still very naive to circumstances. And I ended up having a relationship with him. He was married. He had a whole family. He had a church of about 5,000 members, if not more. And his secretary one day pulled me out of the congregation, and she was like, the bishop wanted to meet with you. And I'm like, okay. I met with him, and he made me feel comfortable with being who I was, because I expressed to him the things that had occurred in the way my life had been, and he made me comfortable. I mean, he would go to the strip club, him and his sons and his deacons and his ministers would be at the strip club. They would get hotels in different cities and go different places. They were all across the country doing different things, and sexual relationships relationship began to occur. With that relationship, it then again made me feel justified and like, this is why I don't really deal with church people, because they present one thing, but behind closed doors, this is not really who they are. So that relationship lasted for a little while. And I remember talking to the secretary and some of the other women of the church and expressing, that I was concerned about how it made me look. And the secretary told me, like, if there's nothing wrong with it, you should feel honored that he chose you. And that was those were her exact words, that you should feel honored that he chose you. So even then, I still didn't feel like anything was wrong. Jump a couple years later, after that, it ended up blowing up that he was having multiple relationships with multiple women in the church. The church ended up like disbanding. They had to change their name, all of this stuff. His wife left, all of these things. And many people didn't realize that I was one of the women, because a lot of the women that he slept with were his deacon's wives and his elders' wives. So they had families. I was just a single woman. So it really, and I never told. I never felt like it was anybody's business. I just was like, okay, well, I got under the radar for my sake. So I ended up, another friend at another church asked me to come. So I'm like, okay, I'll go. They asked me to sing again, asked me to worship and all of these things. And so I'm like, okay, this is going to be another church where the pastor is going to come on to me, because it always happens. I go to the church, I'm a single woman, I'm attractive, and if it's not the pastor, then it's somebody in the congregation that is like, oh, woman of God, woman of God this, woman of God that, God told me, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, this church I'm talking about now is my current church, which is called the Well Experience. When I walked into that church, it changed me. And it changed me in a different way. It gave me a new understanding of my purpose. The story that I was so embarrassed and ashamed to tell people, the details that I was ashamed to share with others, as I began to share it, I could see that it was freeing other people. That my transparency was making other women and other young girls and other teenagers and other young men feel like I'm not alone. Because I had that mind frame of, you've never been through anything, so you can't teach me anything. Not realizing that because of the things that I went through, I would be the person that could reach those that felt the same way. I would be the person that can talk to this girl that's been beat up and her ribs are broken and thrown down the stairs and say, I've been there. I've been there where my boyfriend has beat me in the face with a remote control and knocked me out, and his mom tells me, oh, Miha, well, just make sure you don't do it again, because I'm going to get confused with that. I've been there in those situations where you're hiding because you're scared of how he's going to react if he's drunk or he's high tonight, and you're just not interested. My ex used to lock me in the closet for hours. Like, that was what he would do, is lock me in the closet and put a chair against the door. So anyways, like I was saying, coming back to this church, the new purpose that I got was, I realized that my voice would deliver people. My voice was a healing agent to these people. I never wanted to be, the holier than thou Christian. I never wanted to be the I'm better than you or I'm perfect. I just wanted to be real. I just wanted to be me. And I used to say all the time, like, God, I'm not ever going to be a first lady. I'm never going to be churchy, but, if you're going to use me, I'm going to let you use me. And he has. He's allowed me opportunities to sing in churches and go to conferences and speak to these women and share and just listen and counsel them through moments that somebody who's never been there could never understand. And it's not common. Everybody has a story. I'm not saying that everybody doesn't have a story, but a lot of things that I've been through, it's not very common that there's many women that can relate to that. There's not many women that can understand literally having everything that you want and choosing to not do that anymore. Literally having a man that can provide you everything and him not leaving you, but you say, I don't want this anymore. I can't be in this situation because it's not healthy for me. So like I said, the determining factor was definitely my child. And I can't say that I haven't received anything but blessings and abundance since I have decided to change my life. No, I'm not perfect. No, I do have my moments where, you can still get cussed out. You can still get whatever, you can still get the smoke. Whatever you need, I still got it. But I'm going to deliver Jesus to you as well. So that is, I might hurt you, but I'm afraid for you. That's really hard. I like the fact that the church that I go to, my pastor, my pastor is very transparent as well. He's very open.
Say it. Yeah. Mac in the Box?
Mac in the Box, that's him.
Oh, okay, I know Mac. I used to work out with him at Gold's Gym every once in a while. He knows
Yes.
He knows my boy Derek.
Oh, Lawrence?
Huh?
Derek Lawrence?
No, Derek Cornish.
Oh, okay. Derek Lawrence. Okay, basketball. Yeah. But yeah, Mac. That's my pastor. And I shared with him my story, and I shared with him the things that had happened to me and the choices and decisions that I made, because I wanted him to understand that, like, if you want me to be a representation of your church, I think you need to understand who is really before you, that I'm not Miss Lily White, perfect. And he was like, no, that's why I want you. That's why we need your help. That's why I've chosen you, and I feel like God has chosen you because you can help others. So when I posted that is, I genuinely didn't expect the responses that I got. It was kind of overwhelming to me because I received so many messages from different women about how, just pictures, like, because I gave you guys a lot of detail, and I didn't even really give you guys every detail, but in those pictures it was far less detail. And the women that reached out to me, they just were sending me videos and sending me pictures of bruises and things that have happened to them and sharing with me their stories. And it just made me feel like, okay, well, I'm moving in the right direction. I have to continue to share me with the world. However uncomfortable it may make me and however vulnerable it will make me, it will help someone else. So sometimes you go through things so that it can benefit someone else. And that's why I said that post. It was genuinely just for the 5 different looks, and just realizing in that moment, like, man, God, you brought me so far. You brought me from this girl in the first picture who probably wasn't even sober and can't even recollect today, into this woman that can stand before hundreds and thousands of people and stand firm on everything that I say. I can tell you that I fall short every day. I can tell you that there's times where I might cut somebody out, but at the same time, I can tell you that I can go before that altar and I can lay everybody out because of the anointing that God has placed on me. And it's not arrogance, it's just walking in my calling and realizing, like, this is who you called me to be, and this is why I had to go through it to get through it.
But I tell a lot of people that who are Christian people that look at who Jesus had as his disciples, and they all had something wrong with them. And I think that's how you bring true change in society, is you show people that you can actually change and they see that. And I don't think that we're looking for somebody that's perfect. I think we're looking for somebody that's trying to make a genuine change. And when I hear your story, like, I'm like, wow. I was just thinking about, the way girls dress, and, I was thinking about how, I was looking at the pictures and how you dress like a lady now, instead of trying to show everything. And then when you tell me your story, I was like, wow, it's a lot deeper than that. And so what made you want to change? Was it just, you just got tired of just dealing in that lifestyle, or?
I got tired of, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, you never get tired of money. Like,
right.
That's not something you ever get tired of. As I began to change, my convictions changed. So whereas before I felt the need to be sexy and, wear revealing clothes, it's not that I don't want to be sexy now. I just realized I can be sexy fully dressed. I can be just as sexy from covered from head to toe because I'm intelligent, right? And I feel like a lot of women discredit themselves by using their bodies before they use their minds. And one thing my mom always told me is you don't want to just be a pretty face. because your beauty will fade. If I got into a car accident tomorrow, my beauty will fade, but my mind won't. So how I present myself is also how people are going to attract a certain type of person, because not anyone is just going to approach me based off of how the way I look. They may think that I'm arrogant, they may think that I'm stuck up, and they may have the wrong impression, but it will often stop them from approaching me like they would approach someone who has a booty shot in the city, where you might be in their inbox like, well, what you doing tonight, where you going, blah, blah, blah. The messages that I get, I don't necessarily respond to them, but I have to say that they're not disrespectful. They're, hi, how are you? You're such a beautiful lady. Like, I'd love to take you out. I'd love to get to know you. It's all about presentation. I think that the perception that women present of themselves is very important. And that's something that I had to learn. It wasn't something that I learned from someone. It was in learning that, okay, do you want to still continue to attract the same type of man? If you want to attract a street nigga, if you want to attract the thug, then, I mean, they don't care about you broadcasting your whole body. They might feel like, oh, you're mine, but they don't care about you having booty shorts on and your titty bow out. If you want to attract a man that is about his business, that wants to take you to business luncheons, that wants to take you to these banquets, that wants to take you places, that wants to build a future with you, then you have to change your approach. You have to change your presentation. You have to change you. Now, I didn't change on the precedence that I was looking for a man. I changed on the precedence that I don't want to keep attracting the same kind of man. The caliber of man that I want, the caliber of woman that I am, is not positively represented if I am in booty shorts and bra. That doesn't show that I'm a mother and I'm a role model and I'm all of these things. That just shows that I know how to be sexy. I can be, but you can be sexy without all of that. And I think that a lot of women misinterpret that. And it also has to do with a lot of self-respect and personal conviction. A lot of them feel like, oh, I've lost weight, so now I need to broadcast my body. And I don't judge them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not judging people that, dress how they dress. It's just not for me at this place in my life.
Okay, so let's say this. Okay, like, when did you notice a change in yourself? Like, when did you say, I don't reach that point where I'm not this person anymore?
Honestly, I reached that point in like the last 2 years. Okay. I was the person that like, oh, God's still working on me. And, it's okay that I do this because God's still working on me. God's still working on me. But as my personal convictions begin to increase, I begin to realize, like, I can't talk to these women and say, like, you can come out of this and you can do this if I'm still living this way behind closed doors.
Right.
If I'm still doing this behind closed doors, what you do in the dark comes out in the light at some point. So no, they may not know my business, but I know it. And I know that I can't sit here and tell you how to live a better life if I'm just living a better life in front of you, but behind closed doors, I'm still getting high. I'm still having sex all the time. I'm still, breaking in windows and blessing people over it. My personal conviction had to change as my life changed.
Now you were saying something to the effect that you always kind of had lived a really good lifestyle.
I've always had to what lifestyle?
But you always had like, not really good. What I mean by lifestyle, you always had stuff.
A privileged life.
Yeah.
Yes.
What made you like? Was it just like the fast money that made you like say, okay, I want to date?
No, it actually. I mean, the lifestyle was cool, but it really had to do with the attention. The men that I was attracted to, they were very dominant, and I have a very dominant personality. So their dominance was what was attractive to me. This is what you're not going to do. This is what you're not going to say. This is where you're not going to go. I thought it was cute. Like, oh, he's crazy. He cares about me. Oh, he's concerned. When in actuality, it was just a form of control. But I saw it as love. I felt like they loved me. They appreciated me. They took care of me. When in actuality, them taking care of me was just another form of control.
So you think the money was just a controlling mechanism?
Yeah, the money, the money, of course, was a perk, but it was more so the aggressive behavior. I liked the aggressive behavior. I felt like you didn't care unless you were aggressive. Even after dealing with that type of man, I've struggled with dealing with men that respect me, and I'm offended. Like, he didn't try to fix me, or he didn't try to sleep with me, so he's not interested, or my mind frame was warped. Sex was my predominant focus because I felt like sex was a love language. I felt like if you're not trying to sleep with me, then you're not that interested. If you're not trying to control me, then you don't really want me. You are too sensitive. You're too soft. You're not really a man. And it pushed away a lot of good men, but that was my mind frame.
So where are you currently at? Where are you currently at in your life now?
Oh, well, at my life now, I am single, and I am at a place of realizing that marriage is the goal, right? So anyone that comes into my life, obviously I do have a child, so they have to understand that. But God is primary in my life. I'm always at church because I always have something to do because I am in leadership at my church. So God is the forefront of my life, and I can't deal with anyone that doesn't understand that, because now the type of leadership that I would need in my household is not control, but I need somebody that can be the head of my household. Not financially, because I can do that on my own, but spiritually, that can guide me, that motivates me to want more, that's not controlling me to hold me down, but pushing me to grow, pushing me to go back to school, pushing me to open the next business, pushing me to do whatever it is that I want to do, and supporting me, but not necessarily from a tangible standpoint, but an emotional standpoint. And I feel like that was something that I lacked, is being concerned about emotions. I was more concerned about tangible things.
So you would say you were like materialistic?
Yeah, oh, for sure. For sure. For sure. I definitely couldn't go with anybody that was broke. I remember somebody trying to take me to Chili's on the first date and just not going, because I was like, I'm going to Chili's. Like, who does that? And now I wouldn't care. But at that point, I'm like, Chili's, like, you going to take me for a $20 date? No, I'm good. I'm good.
Say what that?
It's on the bottom.
So now you go for a $20 Chili's date.
Yeah. I'm down for the $20 Chili's date as long as it's fun. Now I'm about having fun. I realized that with all of those things, I wasn't happy. I felt like I was happy because in the eyes of everyone else, it looked like, oh, she got it. But when I started seeing the therapist and the doctor asked me, like, well, what do you like to do? I couldn't think of anything that I liked to do by myself. I couldn't think of anything that I wanted to do other than watch TV. Or other people can say, like, I like to go to the gym, or I like to play basketball, I like to do this. I like to shop, and I like to smoke weed. That was the two things that I wanted to do. I want to spend money, and I want to smoke weed, and I don't want to be bothered with anybody. But now I'm all about, let's go do something fun. Let's go yard baseball. Let's go shoot paintball. Let's go do whatever. I'm kind of reliving. Well, no, I don't want to be young again, but I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I'm experiencing the things that I should have allowed myself to experience before, but I was so busy trying to be grown too fast that I grew myself in the wrong ballpark too quickly.
So how many years younger are you now?
I'm 32.
You right below my age.
So would you say that right now you're just pretty much learning what you like now and what you like to do?
Yeah, I'm relearning me. I recently went through a breakup of somebody that it was in June, and I went back into a place of literally, it was actually the person that I told y'all where I was aware that he was sleeping with other women. We had broken up because I walked in on him with a girl in the house that we lived in, and then I didn't speak with him again for another 8 years. And in like 2017, we reconnected, and I went back into the same cycle. So in June, we ended up finally cutting ties but it was after a physical altercation where I smashed a wine glass over his head. And I cut my hand open all the way down to the bone, and I had to get stitches. And it was in that moment where I realized, like, I can't do this. Like, I can't go back to this person anymore. I've grown too much to go back to this person. So I am definitely at a place of realizing my worth. I just told my friend earlier, like, I'm not compromising on anything. I'm not old and desperate and in need of a man. I'm not ugly to where I can't find a man. If I want to go on a date, I can find somebody to take me on a date. If I want to have sex, I can find somebody to come do that, deliver it, drop it off, and keep it moving. Like, I can do all of those things, but what I want out of a relationship, I'm just not willing to compromise anymore because I know what I want. I know my worth, and that's something that I didn't know. I had to learn what true submission was in order to get a better understanding of what true value is. And I was into quantity over quality, and now I'm realizing the quality in who I am.
So you still carry a pistol, but you have a Bible with you at the same time, huh?
Amen. You know, it's the same. You know,
Do it fit in the
carry
Bible?
the rod and the staff. You know what I'm saying?
She said, "Yeah, you're right. You're right. That rod and staff."
Do you got it where it fits in the Bible, or you have it in your purse?
Well, I actually don't have a pistol because my temper is too bad. See, like I said, God's still working on me.
So you want to?
I understand this.
Well, quick question.
Like a gun would be the best option to have.
Quick question. How are you height challenged?
I'm 5'3". I think I'm pretty average. I'm small though, like in
She's
training,
tiny.
I am very small. So I'm like 105 pounds. So hostility, I guess what they call it, Napoleon syndrome.
Yes.
Yes, I do have Napoleon syndrome all the time.
It's okay. Most of us short women do. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm 5'2".
I'm just not.
I'm 5'2", and I feel like I always feel like I'm acting a lot
JP, you what? 6'2"?
Yeah, I'm a 6'.
I'm 6 foot. Y'all scared the hell out of me. I ain't gonna lie. Like, what you say? Nothing. yeah. Sit down. Like, all right.
It's a lot of tall girls.
Tall girls don't scare me, bro. Like,
You know, because when I grew up, man, like I had a. You ever see South Beach Show?
yeah, big.
Yeah, Bernice, man, my cousin was like that, man. And my mom used to go over there, and so like I would say something, whatever, and she'd say, "Oh, we going to the Vons afterwards." I said, "Okay." And then the Vons, you said that to your mom? I said, "Yeah." She said, "You don't have to fight me if you say that." I said, "No." Yeah, so.
I tell them that all the time. Like, watch out, that's still my auntie. I don't care if that's your mom. Like, watch out, you handle my auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the scare factor for my nieces. Like they already know when their mom say something, they don't do it. I'm like, what? Oh, yes, sir. I mean, like, exactly. Get to it. The youngest one.
My son. It's crazy because my mom, like, my son is the only grandbaby. I'm the only child. So my mom, my grandma, my aunt, everybody's just, oh, he's not a baby. He's not a baby. He's 9. Okay, he's not a baby. So whenever there's an issue, they're like, okay, we're gonna call your mom because he's always with my mom. Always. In fact, he's at my mom's house today. He's always with my mom. And the other day, she called me and she's like, he's not listening. And as soon as he heard my voice, he just burst into tears. Like, I don't even really have to put hands on my son because he knows, like, my mom is not listening games. She really will bust my chest and she really will bust me in my jaw. And I make it clear, you're going to be bigger than me. But you better remember that I will take you out, my nigga. Like, don't ever get it twisted. Don't ever get it twisted. I will knock you smooth off your block and take you to the ER and let them know what happened. So, what you want to do? It's really that simple. And he has a bad temper. He gets it from his mom and his daddy. He definitely gets it badly. His daddy's a murderer. My daddy's a murderer. His mom is crazy. But I'm crazier than you. So, try and make him okay.
Yeah, test my gangster.
So when you were going in high school, What high school did you go to?
I went to Cass High School, I went to Warren High School, and I graduated from Southwest Prep.
Okay.
And I went to Southwest Prep because I skipped school so much in public school that they told me I wasn't going to graduate. I mean, to the point that multiple of my teachers didn't even know who I was. So I ended up going to Southwest Prep, and that's when I met my baby daddy, because that's where all of the bad kids went. Because you only had to go to school for 4 hours, and it was self-paced. You could go to school, do nothing all day. I think I graduated. I mean, I finished my junior and senior year in 6 months because it's a self-paced school. So all you have to do is do the itinerary and all the work and turn it in. And that was how I graduated, because I wanted to be out. I wanted to smoke. I wanted to drink. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And my mama wasn't up. My mama wasn't with it. So she's like, you can get out. So I did. But I still went to school.
Where'd you end up going to school to get your nursing degree?
Carter.
In Kearney? So you paying about an arm and a leg for that right now? You missing your left? I say you missing your left leg and your right arm right now? That's what you pay. That's what you pay. That's what you paying for that school.
In Kearney, we're just expensive school.
It's definitely a difficult, but I'm glad that I did it. And I mean, drug money paid for it, so I never have to do much.
That's true.
I never have to struggle for the money. I was smart back in that way. Smart in that way.
Okay.
I respect
One
that.
thing I always knew is to save something.
Okay. I can't knock that.
So you're African American, right?
Okay?
Do what?
Say you're African American, correct? You're black.
Am I black? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, he said African American.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so why? Cause you say you never dated African American. Why was that?
I haven't. I mean, we live in San Antonio. It's not that
I was
many.
like, she went to school with all the drug dealing Hispanic boys.
No. Because hold on. Tab is white.
Her
Hold
junior
on.
and
Let me
senior
finish.
year.
Tab is white. Warren's white, and then she ended up the Southwest Prep, which is on the east of the side.
No, Southwest Prep. What?
Southwest
They got
Prep,
this
east
one.
side.
They got
The
this one.
campus that I went to was on Callahan. Now it's closed. I think they have some later. But even the campus that I went to was predominantly Hispanic and white.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never.
So you never made it to the east
I
side?
friends in high school that were black, but nothing.
But you never made it to the east side?
That's because north of the east is
I
better.
did date a couple of dudes from the east side, and they were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but I mean, they all went to jail, so I never passed the ball.
What about Northeast? The Judson High School.
I did. In fact, the one that I busted up the head, he was my Northeast sider, but he wasn't black either.
Where you go to school at?
He went to Judson, and then he went to Southwest Prep as well.
Judson, what year?
Why are you trying to?
Why are you trying to find out who she knows?
You know what I mean?
I think he graduated 2001 or 2037. So
Okay, I don't know.
But see, if you dated like east side, like fat boys, then you know.
You be in there like swimwear, bro.
Huh?
You be in there like swimwear, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
You like big dudes? I got this five-time all-star over here. You know, the semi of the pro. Man.
I mean, I don't get now I'm not like, I definitely don't. It wasn't like oh, I don't date black men. It just happens to be what was attractive to me and what was drawn to me were Hispanic men. And
I got
being in long-term relationships with them, I really didn't do much dating. I just was with them.
If the Chili's on 78, you can meet this five-time semi of the pro all-star at, you know what I'm saying?
Haley, I'm so sorry.
$20, you know what I'm saying? $20 get
This
you.
is not the dating show.
I'm just saying, you know, I'm trying to get my man handsome play, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lie, I look at you, I was reading your story, because JP put it on there, I was like, man, who the hell is this? So I look at it, Facebook, like, when they put these long stories, I'm like, man, try to read this shit. So I actually started reading it. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I started reading, I was like, it was deep. I'm like, damn, I really want to know her story now. Like, so I started reading it, and then I was looking at the pictures, and she's like, I'm pretty sure I'm high in this one. Because I was looking at the pictures first, I'm like, whatever. I just kept on, but then I started reading the story, and then I looked at the pictures again, I was like, oh. And it made a lot more sense. Like, I was like, damn, I really want to know her story now. Like, I'm interested.
That was probably why a lot of women reached out to her to tell her.
Well, because
we actually read the story.
I'm gonna put it out there.
She's beautiful.
Men don't
She's
read.
Gorgeous.
Men don't read, and we look at
Pictures.
what attracts our eye first. Yeah. Well, the pictures wasn't necessarily what attracted me. I was like, JP had put it out there. I'm like, okay, whatever. He's like, podcast bit. He's like, podcast bit. I'm like, I don't know, bro. I'll look at it. So I looked at it, and I was looking at the pictures at first, and I was like, okay. And then I actually read the story, like when I actually sat down, because I work in mental health, so it's hard for me to sit down and read. So I actually read the story. I was like, okay, yeah, we need to get her on the show, because I need to find out what the hell's going on here. Because I looked at the last picture, I said, now that's a pretty woman. Beautiful. And I had never heard your voice before, never talked to you. I'm like, now that's a pretty, and she's covered. Completely covered. Right. Nothing showing. Like, now that's a pretty woman.
It's classy.
Yeah.
I couldn't even follow. I was like, man, I can't be like walking past on the street now and not turn around. Like, I probably look, keep walking. but I would definitely look though. I'm like, damn, she pretty. Like, and keep walking.
You keep walking because you're short and he's scared of you.
No. Well, I ain't scared of all short women. I'm just saying, like, I know that if I go to sleep, I better have my hands ready because she gonna like, what you say, nigga?
But they're telling me though.
Shit. They'll cut your ass trying to stab you.
But see, they like,
hey, they're just like this, like
teddy bear. But we like teddy bears, and I play football, so they know.
Yeah, but you a lineman, bro. I'm like,
I know.
So you already advocating for yourself, bro? Like, what the fuck? What about fat jujitsu dudes, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, but I don't.
We gotta show things out. You know what I'm saying?
But I don't do jujitsu though.
But I know.
But Ben does.
I like you pancake, I choke.
Right, basically, yeah.
So it's one of the two. If pancake or choke, it's whichever one you want. But you still got that Chili's though.
She gonna do the pancake.
They still gonna take you to Chili's.
I'm taking the because I'm the chain. Can you go like late at night?
No.
Dude, you just like that lemonade that you had.
I kind of do. No, like I like Lynn's. Do they ever open back up?
Don't she have like a bedtime or something? You know, she got a kid too, so.
Her son's at her mom's house.
Oh, forgot about that part.
Yeah,
but are we keeping you up late? I'm sorry.
What did you say?
Are we keeping you up too late or?
No.
Oh, okay.
I want to ask you this seriously, though. Do you ever consider yourself writing a book or going like on a tour or anything like that?
Like a motivational speaker type thing?
I didn't, right? But what's contrary to popular belief, I don't like attention, right? So I didn't feel that way, but I do like from that one post, you guys are not the only ones that reached out to me. In fact, I have another interview on Monday and then another one next Sunday for people that want me to share the same story. And so a book, I don't think I could write a book. I mean, I don't feel like my story is that serious to write a book, but I can.
It's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Your story is a very
unique,
inspiring story. And to know that, you know, from where you came from to where you are now, that is super inspiring because a lot of people, they do get stuck in that lifestyle and they don't see any reason why they should want to be better, regardless of whether they have children or not. And the fact that, you know, your child was the one that brought that aha moment to you, you know, Because I mean, you know, a lot of people that are in that situation, they have probably tons of kids and they never had that moment. So I mean, the fact that you did, that's inspiring to me. I think that's an amazing story. And I mean, you could probably even get like a ghostwriter to help you write the story. You know, you tell them the story and they can write it for you.
I'll write it for you.
JP said he'll write it for you. He's gonna be an author now.
I do write.
You're gonna be a real estate / author.
I do write.
Have you published it?
I just,
Yeah, she's trying to talk.
I'm sorry.
people just to know that, like, you don't have to. You make your story what you want it to be, right? Like, everybody's story is not going to end up in the church, right? That may be my story. It may not be for somebody else to end up in the church, but it just may be for them to realize, like, this isn't safe. Because my mind frame was really like, if I die tomorrow, my child has no one. His dad's in prison, his mom's dead. Like, what does he have? So I have to change for him, or he's not going to have anything. And I've already set him up for failure by having a baby with a murderer. So I have to provide a different lifestyle for him where he doesn't think that this is cool or he doesn't want to go down the same path. I got to break those curses before he even realizes that they're there.
What does he do now? Like, does he play any sports or anything like that? Or
Yeah, he does everything. He plays football. He has not played basketball. He plays soccer. I coach the soccer team. He played baseball. He did karate. He does it all.
That's awesome.
so you keep him busy, man.
That's good.
Yeah.
Positive things.
Got an idle mind that ever worked.
Oh yeah.
Listen. Well, I don't mind is just money out of my pocket because then that means more Fortnite.
Yeah.
I'm tired of Viva. Go outside and play.
Yeah, he's not in our generation. We got kicked out the house and locked the door and you go drink from the hose and don't come back in 5 minutes later talking about you thirsty. And that was our.
He's definitely not. He's like, Mom, it's hot. I'm done cooking over next to he's like, I'm going to get Friday, I got to get my hair cut. And these kids now are so old, even though he's 8, he'll be 9 in December. He's looking for his birthday is a week before Christmas. I'm like, well, what do you want for Christmas? He wants to get 5, and he wants some Gucci slides and a Gucci belt. And I'm like, what? Like, okay, I'm going to go to Eisenhower.
I was going to say, your son got expensive taste for a 9-year-old.
Yes, like he really believes. And I don't overindulge. Well, he's an only child, so I do overindulge, but I try to make up for the fact that, like, I don't ever want him to feel like I come from a single household, so I got to try to help my mama, and I got to sell drugs, and I got to do this. Like, no, you don't know anything about that because you have more than most kids that have 2 parents. You live in a house. Your mom has everything that multiple parents have by herself. So I don't need your help. I need you to be a child. I need you to grow up, and at 18, decide whether you want to join the military or go to college, because I don't take care of them. So you have 2 choices.
Okay, that's understandable.
It is.
Figure it out. But just don't kick him out.
My family's big on education. My mom was a teacher. My mom is a therapist. So, like, when I say I didn't come from this lifetime, my dad is a retired colonel from the Army, and he's in prison for murder as well. So, I come from a family of cuckoo birds, but I also come from a family of educated. Well, we come from, we're not poor, so I don't want my son to ever, I don't even know what drew me to that lifestyle or to the roughneck, like most girls, they say, I grew up, I didn't have a dad. My dad wasn't present, but I was just attracted to men with money, really. I mean, and I just like the fact that they were aggressive. That's really what it boiled down to. And it took me down the wrong road, and I just became more accustomed to it. Like, okay, well, we need to make sure we got money because, they kick the doors in. I got to pay bond for the 5 of y'all. Not just one of you. I got to pay bond for all of y'all, make sure everybody's good. And, if they talk to you, you ain't got nothing to say. It's really, and the Mexican mafia, like, it ain't no joke, okay? Like, it's not, his family was very, don't say shit to nobody, you don't know nothing, you don't know. You don't know. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I wasn't there, even though I was sitting in the bed.
Wasn't there, can't prove it. I even got a picture.
Right.
Wasn't there. You see me walking in there, walking out by myself. I was not there.
I was not there. I don't know him. I don't know her. I don't know nothing about it.
So what's the
But
next
that's
step?
awfully exhausting.
So what's the next step for you? What do you see as the next level in your improvement?
In my improvement?
Yeah.
So the next step is I actually have it written on my mirror, right? So after this breakup, right, it made me reopen. My eyes are open, but it reopened my eyes because I thought, like, oh, well, this person's come back into my life. So, God, I'm in a different place. So now they're changing, but that wasn't the case. So I literally wrote on my mirror, reset me. Reset my mind, reset my body, reset my soul. The things that I have been accustomed to, the things that I felt were how to live life, I'm just in a reset moment. Make me better. Remove me. And as a worship leader, standing before people every week and teaching people songs and musician songs and worshiping, I have had to get to a place of, Lord, empty me, right? Even though I want to encourage others, I don't ever want to be a distraction to somebody. I don't ever want to be a distraction to a man that walks in this church. I don't want him to want to come to church to see me. I want him to want to come to church for you. Use me as a vessel and a tool, and anything about me, just reset it so that it's not a distraction to others, because I've learned that my worship could be the difference between life and death for someone else. Because people don't walk into church saved, holy, and righteous, right? That's very rare that somebody walks in just pure. Most people walk into church because they're going through marital problems, or they have an issue, or they know, like, I just need a good word to encourage me to make it to the next day. If I'm not in a position to really pour on these people, or pour out the anointing and the oil that God has given me, then I can hinder them, and they may not get what they need, which in turn falls on my shoulders. And I don't want somebody to die or something to happen because I didn't do my part in making sure that I was emptied out. I want to be empty so that I can pour. Like, I need to pour, my constant pour. Fill me up so I can pour. So I can pour out, because I don't want to carry the burdens of somebody else's issues anymore. I want to be able to help them come out of their issues.
That's what's up. What hospital do you work at?
I don't work at a hospital. I work for a home hospice agency. So I work from home, and I do corporate billing. So I don't even work with patients.
Okay. Well, that's my assumption. My bad. JP, you got anything else, bro?
Man, I just want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, really, that was very inspiring.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you guys for having me. If I could be present, I definitely will have to come and sit with you all.
I'm scared for you. I'm scared for you to come and sit.
Just make sure you're wearing heels to at least 5'5", you know.
Oh, I'm always wearing heels. Like,
Okay.
I am always dressed to the nines. But I definitely dress up for y'all. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Oh, no, I'm just saying is that way I'm not too scared of you, know what I'm saying? You might try to cut me or something. But anyways,
I was like, don't you know heels can be used as a weapon?
Yeah,
I know that too. But
Oh, okay.
but see that I can see coming. But you know, she come out her mouth with like razor, you know.
I don't know what kind of women you know
Above
that
the
do
rim.
that, but
You ever seen Above the Rim?
The what?
You ever seen Above the Rim?
No.
Bernie came out with a razor in his mouth?
No.
You need to watch Above the Rim.
Watch what?
Above the Rim.
Above the Rim.
I know it.
Oh, it's a basketball movie, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I know it.
The one with Denzel Washington?
Ma'am?
Was that the one with Denzel Washington?
No, it's with Tupac played Birdie, and then do you remember Marlon Wayans?
Okay.
And Marlon Wayans shot Birdie at the end, and Bernie Mac was was Skip, something like that.
I have actually never seen that movie, but
I haven't either.
I'm not looking it up.
Watch above the rim. It's a pretty cool movie. And matter of fact, if y'all remember, remember the Titans, the guy that played the black dude that played the defensive end, and became friends with the white dude. He's actually in above the rim. So he's in above the rim. He's in Remember the Titans. And he's also in Creed. Creed with Michael B. Jordan when he was boxing in that. But anyways, closing statements, JP. I know you said thank you for being on the show.
Well, I just want to thank you for being on the show, and I feel like we all can change if we truly find that reason to change. So with me, I feel like I know that takes a lot of work, so I respected that. And I seen from her post where she was making that effort and still making that effort. So, do you have any closing statements?
Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't know. I just appreciate you guys even being interested and giving me, the opportunity to even share with you all my story. I am grateful for that, for sure. Because again, you couldn't have told me that anybody would hear it, but I'm glad to hear that they brought something to someone.
Cool. So you gotta join us for you gotta watch, you gotta like, share, and subscribe on podcast. And episode 17 is
Extraterrestrials. E.T. phone home.
E.T. Bro.
I'm thinking about E.T. phone home, Predator, Alien. I'm thinking those kind of things too.
That's next Wednesday, I think Josh said. About 7:30.
Next Wednesday. So Haley, if you're interested, tune into that one because we're talking about extraterrestrials, and we'll see how that one goes.
They come up with some very
interested. Okay, I gotta talk about aliens.
yeah. JP comes up with some interesting topics.
Well, the next one after that, I'm not going to spoil it, but all I got to say is Stone Cold all day. But we're gonna leave it at that. No, I'm sorry, that's way after. That's a little later. But Pastor Sledge, we're gonna have a good show on that one too, because I know we'll win that argument. Anyways, y'all have a good night. Any other closing statements?
You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Miss Haley, for joining us tonight. We appreciate your story.
You guys have a great night.
You too.
All right, y'all. Come back to episode 17, Extraterrestrial. 18 is J-Bone, right?
J-Bone the rapper.
Is it J-Bone?
So
So it's not Stone Cold, right?
Episode 18 is J-Bone. And then 19
is The Rock versus Stone Cold.
And everybody gonna pick The Rock.
Everybody gonna pick Stone
So
Cold.
next week we're going to talk about extraterrestrials, and then the week after that we're going to have Jelani on the podcast. And
but
he's gonna do some of his music for us. So I'm excited for that one.
Cool.
Because Jay Bone's like my brother. He's like my little big brother. It's like but
and then the argument of all time, Stone Cold versus The Rock.
that's
and
in
we
3
already
weeks.
know that
So
Ben
we can
Newsom's
talk
gonna
about
win.
that in a couple weeks.
Ben Austin Newsom's gonna win that one. Y'all have a good
Asian
night.
Sensation might not be here for that one because she doesn't know anything about wrestling.
You can still sit there and listen though. Anyways, y'all have a good night.
Y'all have a good night. Don't forget to like, subscribe,
and share.
and share.
And we'll see you later.